It's the Daily Dispatch, in discussion with Darren Mann.
From the front page of the Daily Dispatch today, local fearless empowering you on Thursday the 18th of November. Faku quits as MP as BCM mayoral rumours grow. ANC MP and regional leader Princess Faku has announced her resignation from the National Assembly effective from Friday. She is in the running for the position of Executive Mayor of Buffalo City Metro. Also off the front page, businessman and taxi driver clash in road rage drama on East London Highway. A road accident involving a businessman and a taxi driver on East London's North East Expressway turned violent yesterday. The taxi driver allegedly snatched the keys of the businessman's car, and the businessman allegedly smashed the taxi's windscreen with a hammer. Main story, however, on the front page, it's one that's not going to go away. Wave of fury rises against ocean blasting. Eastern Cape fury over Shell's November seismic blasting of the Wild Coast and off Gqeberha is ringing in ears around the world. By 4 p.m. yesterday, a staggering 110,000 people had signed a petition calling on Forestry, Fisheries and Environmental Minister Barbara Creasy to withdraw Shell's environmental authorisation. For more on these and other stories, visit dispatchlive.co.za.
Enter the Daily Dispatch Winner Car competition and you could drive away in the new 7-seater Suzuki Ertiga 1.5 GA. The competition closes on the 21st of November 2021 and an entry form is printed in the Daily Dispatch every day. The more you enter, the luckier you get. Get your copy of the Daily Dispatch and enter now. Win a car, proudly brought to you by Daily Dispatch and Ronnie's Motors.
It's the Daily Dispatch in discussion with Darren Mann, and we return today to a topic previously covered, but which is gathering passionate opposition from not just environmentalists, but civil society worldwide. Seismic blasting in search of gas or oil deposits in the Wild Coast by multinational corporation Shell and its partners. Daily Dispatch reporter Mike Lowe has been all over this one, so we start with a few words from Mike to give us background and context. Thanks for joining us, Mike. This application originally went in 2013. Why are we scrambling now?
I think the answer to this is that Shell suddenly came into the picture in about 2018, if not even sooner, and that suddenly gave impetus. Really, the biggest, if not one of the biggest players in the industry, suddenly got in on the game, and that's why I think we've just suddenly had this email popping up from one or two people who had registered in the 2013 process as interested and affected parties, and it popped up a few months ago to say, hey, well, it's almost done now. Thanks, we're on our way. And the next thing, 2 weeks ago, there's this tiny little notification of commencement of the 3D survey, and that I think is what's going on in the background.
Your reading of it, has the law been followed?
This is something that everyone wants to know. Obviously the Shell and their environmental practitioners, SLR, are trying to tell us that it's all legal, it's all fine. But lawyers have actually poured through the whole thing. They've dug out the authorization, and they're all, I think, today I think the ministers are getting letters pointing out a lot of flaws and problems that the lawyers have found. And if that doesn't go well, then I think we're headed to court for a good thrashing out of what actually happened. The real issue at stake here is the question of public participation. And I think as Janet Solomon of Oceans Not Oil has pointed out, what we're seeing today, the public response, that is real public participation. And so that's where we really need to go with this process. So there's a lot of grey areas we don't know.
More and more organisations are flocking to the cause. I see in your article today there's a photograph of internationally known Lewis Pugh. He's added his weight to the opposition. There are also a number of musicians we'll be catching up with later who are joining the cause.
Yeah, I think the petition was particularly, I think it was quite well written. It was someone we don't even know who grabbed hold of the reports and oil, Oceans Not Oil stuff, and put this quite a powerful petition together. And that, I think, is what's driving a lot of people. And there will be, I think, in the days to come, there will be celebs coming through, particularly people like surfers. I know that surfers in East London are desperately keen to get hold of people like Kelly Slater, Geordie Smith, and so on. And I won't be surprised if they don't sign the petition and make a point that they are signing it. Even someone like John Florence, who has all these people, Smith, they've all surfed the Wild Coast. They know what's at stake. So they are just one small segment, and there are many other interest groups where I'm sure world leaders will, or celebrities, or people of stature will start coming through.
I certainly hope you're right, Mike. Can you give our listeners an idea of what seismic blasting entails? Basically, they're going to be guns pointing into the ocean and firing every 10 seconds.
So these survey vessels, enormous ship, they have long cables stretching out, and at the end of these cables, they carry what is called an array, which is like basically a box in my mind, containing up to 12 air guns. And this long line of dots, which the ship trails behind it, every 10 seconds pushes out this enormous sound. And it's an air gun explosion. They all work together, and they make this almighty noise, sending these pulses right down through the ocean and many kilometers into the seabed. And the bounce back of that sound is how they pick up the information, what's below, and then they build a kind of computer graphic image. This is what I'm hearing so far. And it just carries on. The ship just keeps dragging. It drags and drags. And it'll go on for 4 months. It's gone on for 5 months in KZN. So the questions I have in my mind are, well, okay, so these guys are not making maps. They're on a hunt. They want to search for that gas. They want to search for that oil. So I feel like when they get to a place, what are they going to just drive past it and just, there's something. They're going to go there and keep going. They're searching.
And the effect on marine life, all secondary as far as they're concerned.
Well, this is where it gets interesting. So we have Dr. Mandy Ace in my page today has dug up the original authorization and has found some rather astounding information from a scientist which was part of this, the original authorization. And I'll read it to you. It says that she's quoting the 2013 Environmental Management Program. I love the way that these environmental management, there's no question of environmental research or environmental impact. It's all about managing, which immediately the language kind of gets me a little bit concerned that it's like we're not really digging below the surface. We're just like going to manage stuff. Anyway, it states here that it lists 28 to 38 cetacean species. These are all the whales and dolphins in both ER areas, not just ours here on the Wild Coast, but down in the PE area, Gqeberha area as well. So, and it says that it recognizes the potential impact of seismic pulses on whales and dolphins. And here's the quote: could include physiological injury, behavioral avoidance of seismic survey areas, masking of environmental sounds, and communication and indirect impacts due to effects on prey. If you sit and work your way through that quote alone, there's so many questions that we should be asking about what's the real impact. Now, that's their own survey. What about what the rest of the world is saying? Other scientific investigations and so on. And the record is building that it's not good. Whales do die. I think in Bahamas there was something like 17 whales and dolphins stranded, and then there it was pretty clear. The US scientists found that there was acoustic trauma, and that was related to multiple military sonars, which had been operating up to 235 decibels. So there is evidence out there.
Am I correct in saying that some of this blasting is actually going to take place during whale migration season as well?
Definitely, and the problem we have is that there's no response from the people who are going to be searching for the oil and the government. They're not going to tell us this, but scientists are saying it's definitely, such as Kevin Cole, it's definitely going to impact. And also we've got local tourism operators, I think it's Southern Cruises. They're saying there are no more whales anymore. So what's been going on? We do know that I think from Morgan Bay, I spoke to Richard Warren Smith of the Morgan Bay Hotel. He said that when they saw the first ship, they've been here already, and a 2D survey was done. And this is all part of the reports as well. He said the whales and everything just disappeared. And he said that ship came in close. It was so close to the point out at Carmouth that he called John Ross to say, like, geez, what's going on? And Ron said, no, it's just it's a survey ship. Well, it's time that we kind of went beyond these ideas of just a survey and see it for what it is.
Couldn't agree more, particularly in the wake of global leaders meeting in Glasgow for COP26 recently.
I think that's one of the, if you want to know why people are getting so wound up in our part of the world, and why East London, the Wild Coast, Buffalo City, since all these people are coming out now and saying no, it's this context. They know that Shell is just trying to squeeze the last drop. They know that Shell is in an internal battle to go more towards renewable energy, and then there's obviously this faction that is hanging on to the oil and wants to keep on going because the money's good and the life's good. And that's really what people understand. Of course, the bigger picture is that, well, we can only go so far, and then there's no more resources. There's no more air, land, and water that we can use like we used to or live with. So there's this whole shift in public consciousness towards what are we going to do about this? This is a serious crisis of existence.
We're speaking with Mike Lowe. He's been following the story of Shell's proposed seismic exploration for search of gas or oil deposits in the Wild Coast. He'll continue to do so. It's the lead story in today's Daily Dispatch. Wave of fury rises against ocean blasting. More than 100,000 people so far signed the petition opposing Shell exploration in the Eastern Cape. And Mike, in a little while, we're going to be catching up with Janet Solomon, the lady who initiated that petition. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Darren.
All marine life on the Wild Coast will come under devastating assault from the seismic air guns of the Shell Oil Company from the 1st of December, scientists, environmentalists, activists and recreationalists warned this week. Views on the 5-month dragging up and down of up to 48 air guns firing 220 decibel sonic blasts into the ocean every 10 seconds ranged from the raw rage of anglers and surfers to a measured long-term critique by Durban-based Oceans Not Oil leader and filmmaker Janet Solomon. She joins us now on the Daily Dispatch in discussion with Darren Mann. Janet, thank you for your time. This sounds all horrific. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've been thinking it's been horrific for a long time, since 2016 when we had a seismic survey off our coast and 3 whales washed up on separate beaches within a week. And I went to investigate and I took my camera. And the more I found out, the more horrified I was, and hence my making that movie becoming visible. But since then, of course, it's rallied a whole lot of support, the length and breadth of the coastline, because we love our seas. Our seas are sacred to many South Africans. A lot of people, all of us, I think all of us go to the sea in times of trouble. We visit that sea to find peace. There is a deep ancient connection to our waters, and 116,000 South Africans this morning have said no with our petition. So, and it's the counter is just not stopping with this. So it has touched a nerve. I think it's time with climate change and global warming that we urgently reconsider where we're going with our energy, and offshore oil and gas is certainly not going to be the real option here. It's going to take 10 to 15 years before that gas reaches shore. We in South Africa do not have the gas infrastructure to deal with it. That still needs to be built. So that's another 15 to 20 years. We don't have the actual infrastructure and power stations to perform with this gas. We are light years away from getting gas as any real energy supply for South Africa. And we have renewable energy suppliers lined up, hands in the air saying, take me, take me, take me. So, there's a lack of logic throughout all of this.
Sure.
So those are our concerns. And I mean, I'm sure we'll get into all the issues with what these air guns do.
You've initiated an online petition you referred to where folk can register their disgust at the move. Around 116,000 so far. How do people add to that number?
They can go, it's trending on change.org. So you can look at Shell Oil off our coast, change.org, and you'll find it there. It's ticking over nicely. Either that, or you can go to our oceansnotoil.org website. You can go to the blog pages there. They will direct you. All of our social media, Facebook, etc., will direct you to the petition. So Yeah. And it's not just the petition, Darren. We're wanting people to also make comment. They can register as interested and affected parties. We have a secondary seismic survey was also announced in the same week that the Shell one was. The Shell one is in a sense, the public participation window has closed, but that window existed in 2014. And really what Oceans Not Oil is saying is that's ridiculous. The world has moved on in terms of fossil fuels. You can't expect an environmental assessment, but it was just an EMPR, it wasn't an EIA. You can't expect those environmental assessments to still hold water, 6 years on. So because the oceans are changing, we all know the dynamics of our oceans are changing. So that all needs to be reassessed, especially in the light of climate change.
Where will this petition go to in the end? Who is it directed at, and will it have any effect?
So the petition, we've got a kind of multi-barrel approach here. There's a legal approach, which is happening anyway, which is where previous stakeholders in the first EMPR are now have now written off to both ministers, both the Minister of Minerals and the Minister of Environment, and to Petroleum Agency South Africa, who's mandated to review these applications, and also mandated to promote oil and gas on our coastline. So there's a legal branch there. We will also be writing off letters as well to ministers from the civil society angle as well. So they're getting a kind of bombardment from both sides. And, I think it really is time for us to reconsider this. Government keeps talking about a just transition to move coal jobs into alternate energies, but gas is not an alternate energy. You're just moving people into a job that's going to strand in 10 or 15 years' time. So it's deeply concerning that gas is offered as an option for a just transition. The jobs in gas are not going to compare to renewables once renewables get up and are allowed, and the political will allows for renewables to take their place. Socially owned renewables too will get many, many hands busy and will allow for that just transition. So it's a no-brainer for me with regard to moving away from oil and gas. The science is already there to say we can't burn what we've got. We can't now be affording to take more out the seabed.
It is a terrible invasion of the marine environment. Give us an idea of what's likely to happen to sea life. Okay,
yeah. So we as humans live in a visual world, most of us, and animals and life in the sea revolves around sound, because of course the visibility in the sea is not always good, and the depth of the sea means that light doesn't always penetrate it. So everything from communication, reproduction, navigation, eating habits, the entire survival of marine life, from whales, dolphins, turtles, fish, shellfish, and even tiny plankton, relies on sound. Plankton and larval life and egg life apparently gets direct, science has shown us it follows the sound of clicking coral. So now you're putting in, every 10 seconds you've got these blasts, these enormous blasts. So by comparison, humans are expected to leave a zone when there's 180 decibels. That is no longer safe. Here we've got blasts from 220 to 240 decibels. We're talking the equivalent of a space shuttle takeoff. And those are that sound is coming from air guns, which are designed to produce a cavitating sound and pressure wave, which then penetrates kilometers of sea depth and then is designed to penetrate about 40 kilometers of seabed. So it's an enormously forceful wave that is produced every 10 seconds. And these waves are capable of producing lethal and sublethal injury, hearing loss, either temporary or permanent. And then, of course, we've got all this interference and communication and psychological stress and organ rupture, behavioral responses. We've got migration. These surveys are going to be happening in our migration channel at the end of whale migration season, but we must remember that we also have resident whales, beautiful deep diving pilot whales and beaked whales that live on that continental shelf. And they'll be potentially really, really affected by this sound. And then we've also during this time, we're going to have scalloped hammerhead migrations. And of deep concern is our turtle population. So our turtles will be nesting, and we'll have baby turtles coming out during this season and in the water, in the Agulhas current during the season. And they certainly can't get away from soccer fields and soccer fields of air gun arrays being towed behind the ship.
Jane, if I might ask, on your petition that you're running so far, has there been international response, or is it just mainly South African?
No, I'm fielding a lot of press from all over the world. I'm noticing that the signatures are definitely South African names. So we're getting a broad variety of South African names popping up every couple of seconds. But the media attention is definitely international as well. Obviously, people are focused on Shell. Shell's been doing this greenwashing job of talking about cleaning up its game in the future. And, I don't think it's coincidental that this happened, these announcements happened straight after COP26 closed its doors.
We have just been sharing with our listeners that during the course of the past few hours, it's not just the environmentalists, but civil society worldwide and celebrities who've come out in opposition. Lewis Pugh and his organisation are opposing.
Yes.
And during the course of the past few minutes, we've just spoken with Jack Atlantic and Dale Schnettler from Prime Circle. There'll be many others who'll be coming out, I'm sure, during the course of the next few days. Thank you for the movie. Thank you for the petition. Thank you for the great support. And let's hope we can stop this. Thank you very much. Janet Solomon from Oceans Not Oil.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So, as we mentioned earlier here on the Daily Dispatch in discussion with Darren Mann, passionate opposition is gathering from not just environmentalists, but civil society and celebrities as well, to seismic blasting in search of gas or oil deposits in the Wild Coast by multinational corporation Shell and its partners. During the course of just the past few minutes, we've heard that Lewis Pugh and his organisation strongly opposes the move. We've managed to reach out to a few celebrities who hail from the Eastern Cape as well. We've got Jack Atlantic on the line. Jack, good morning. Your thoughts?
Morning, Darren. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, man, it's a terrible thing, and I also absolutely stand against it. To hell with Shell, and it's just a sad thing that this is happening in this day and age. And I strongly oppose it.
Hopefully you'll pass that message on to your fellow musicians as well. I know we're going to be catching up with Dale Schnettler, who, together with you, is in a band called Fear of Flying, but folk might know him better from Prime Circle. Thanks for your support.
Absolutely, and anything I can do from our side, we'll try and really gather us a lot of support from the music industry as well.
Jack Atlantic, many thanks. Have a good day.
Thanks, Darren. Cheers.
So as we said, the wave of fury rises against ocean blasting in the Wild Coast by Shell and its partners. It's gone beyond just the environmentalists and civil society. We have celebrities coming out in opposition now. Lewis Pugh, we spoke to East London musician Jack Atlantic just a few minutes ago. And now on the line, we've got Dale Schnettler, who's probably best known for his work with legendary SA band Prime Circle. Hi, Dale.
Yes, hi, Dan.
We're worried about what's going on in these parts, man. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, it is crazy, and I do agree with a lot of people, and I see there's 90,000 people against it that have already signed up for it, but and I suppose I'm one of those. I mean, it's like you said, it's killing our environment. It's bad for the system. It's just ruining everything, and for them, it's just a money making way of making money.
Well, Dale, we thank you for your support. If you'll make sure the rest of the musos get the message as well, it's something we really don't want happening. It's going to affect marine life for thousands of kilometres.
Definitely, I agree on that one. It's a bad thing. It's a really bad thing.
That was the Daily Dispatch in discussion with Darren Man.